Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 30 neutral fall Dollar Tree DIYs to inspire you for your fall crafting. I know a lot of you really enjoy the neutral colors for fall, so I wanted to put all of these DIYs from the Crafty Vault together in one crafting marathon for you.
I wanted to try to find a fun, creative way to cover one of these pumpkin wreath forms from Dollar Tree. I've done several different things with these, and this is probably the easiest thing I've ever done with one of these. I'm going to take the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start on the middle section right here, and I'm just trying to figure out kind of the angle I want that to be at. But what I'm going to do is start the burlap roll there on the back of the stem by just gluing the metal frame down to the ribbon. And my plan was to like zigzag wrap two of them together with the burlap ribbon, and then kind of work it in kind of like macrame, but with this large burlap. And you'll see what I mean here in just a minute. So I left all of my burlap on the roll. It makes it a little bit easier that way. Just making sure that this is good and dry so that I can kind of tug on it and pull it tight. And as you can see, I kind of go down diagonally back and forth until I cover that section of the pumpkin. I'm going to pull this through, and then I'm going to do each individual section of the pumpkin separately. I found that it was easier just to cut it and to glue it. Now here on the bottom, it worked out really well because it glued over the wire, and so you won't be able to see that. But there's some other areas like on the top, the way that it's set up, I'm going to have to go back and cover that up. But my plan is to cover up all of the metal wire, so I don't really care that it's that like dark color because you're not going to be able to see it in the end. So I'm going to start my next row right here to the left just by gluing that under. And then I'm going to go through that same area we were just in and see how we're going to zigzag back and forth by pulling the burlap roll through, and that is going to cover up all of the wire. So that was my plan, was to try to get it all covered up, and something really simple, but it gives like a really cool vibe to this pumpkin. I've done like the wood beads. I've seen people do fabric and stuff like that, and I've done macrame on these. And this is definitely a fun technique, so I definitely recommend it. Now I got the first two done, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one over here, kind of working from the inside out. And again, I just zigzag that through, covering up the hole, and then kind of ending it on the back on the top. And I just hot glue that in place and then just trim the burlap down. If it doesn't sit flat, I just come back here and fold off the bottom to make it flatter because it's a little wide for the base. So we're just going to keep doing that until we cover the entire pumpkin. Again, just working inside to out so I know exactly where my roll needs to be. And I'm pulling it through tight, but not real tight. Just a little bit of play so that I can kind of move it around a little bit when it comes to the next row. Now, if you wanted to do two of these and put them back to back, you can make a really cool centerpiece. I have done that with a macrame, with two of them with macrame. But I'm going to make this for a door hanging. And the thing I love about this pumpkin wreath from the Dollar Tree is that it is so large. Like, this is really a significant piece. So we have almost everything covered. We just have the two side pieces, and we're going to kind of do the same thing on those. You do have to kind of guess your angles here, and I'm just going to kind of wrap it around. I can always go back and tighten the bottom there where it's not sitting like real circular or close. I just trim the burlap down and kind of glue that to itself. And basically I want to cover up all of the wire. I don't want any of that to be visible. And as you can see, the burlap ribbon is doing a really good job. So I'm going to do the same thing over here on the left. And then I just need to kind of go back and cover all the wire around the edges and the top where you can still see that. But the bottom is all covered, so that worked out well. So you kind of have to be creative here on the sides, kind of play with it and see what's going to work. I just kind of wrapped mine around and glued it to it. And we're just going to cover up this little section here on the side that doesn't really have anything, just kind of one section at a time. I just trim that and kind of hot glue that in place, and then I can trim it and kind of wrap it around. Really no rhyme or reason. I just want to cover up the wire. I guess you could always use rope or something like that too if you wanted to frame yours out with rope, but I really wanted to just kind of stick to the burlap. Now it's time to kind of do the same thing here on the top. I was just trying to figure out what would be the best way to do this. And so I just glue it to the back, glue it down, and then I'm also trying to glue it over the area there at the top of the pumpkin stem. And I just kind of make that work. And I really don't want all this excess burlap on the back either, so I'm just going to trim that as I go. And here is another section on the top that really kind of needs something. So I just kind of glue that on there. I don't want to overlap our design on the front too much. And then I just keep doing that all the way around. Over here on the side, I just really needed a small piece, and so I just glued that around until all of the wires covered except for the pumpkin stem. And my plan is to do something different with that, just to bring in a little bit more color, but we are still gonna have the burlap. One more little holes right down here. And isn't that like a cool way to cover it? I think it looks really cool. And it was so easy. It was probably the fastest way I've ever done one of these little pumpkin wreaths. Now for the pumpkin stem, I thought we'd use some of the Dollar Tree white nautical rope. This is the 6 foot, and I'm gonna need like 2 or 3 rows to make it wide enough to make a pumpkin stem. So I'm just gonna kind of put those side by side. Starting over here on the left side of the stem, I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue that right directly onto the wire. And then I'm going to make it longer so it'll kind of like curl off to the side, because this is a really large pumpkin. It really needs a large pumpkin stem. The next piece, I just kind of glue it to the piece next to it because it really didn't have a lot to glue to. And then the third piece I can glue over to the right side of the wire, just cutting all 3 of those ropes down to size. Then I'm just going to glue them side to side here at the top so they'll all be attached to each other. And I want it to look like a large pumpkin stem. So I kind of glue it where it kind of like twists and turns a little bit too, but nothing too crazy. And I think that looks pretty cool. I'm glad that it's a different color than the burlap. It's going to break up the color in that a little bit. I'm also going to go ahead and make a hanger. I probably should have done this before because I've kind of got everything glued up, so that's okay. I just take some twine and I tie a knot, and I'm just going to glue that to the back. This is very lightweight. That burlap was very lightweight, so there's really not a lot to this. This would be great for a door because it's so lightweight. You're not going to have a heavy banging thing on your door when you're opening it and shutting it. So that is solved. We have a hanger on it. Then I thought it'd be fun to add a fall word. These are those little galvanized metal words from the Dollar Tree. And since I'm going to do mine on my front door, I thought welcome would be really cute. So I'm just going to kind of center that on the front of the pumpkin. I'm going to let it be flat, just gluing it in place in 2 places here. To kind of glue it against the 2 wire pieces sticking up. But I'm not going to wrap it around or anything like that. Now to decorate the top of the pumpkin, I thought it would be fun to use some of these little burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. These come in like the tan and the white burlap. They also come in 2 different sizes. So since we've already done the brown burlap, I thought it would be cute to do some leaves with the white burlap. It's going to go really nicely with the rope up here. And I can also kind of cover up the end of the rope there. I don't really need that to look all gnarly down there like I kind of want it to at the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue these leaves in place. I am going to add to that and add some more leaves to it here in just a minute. Now, no blue on this DIY, just a lot of burlap and textures and fun, very neutral. That's when I was like, you know what? I really should have painted the welcome word because you really could not read the galvanized metal against the burlap. It just didn't stand out at all. So I'm going to try painting these, even though it is a little bit difficult. So the first thing I do is go over the whole thing with Mod Podge. I guess the secret to that is it just kind of helps the paint to stick to the metal a little bit because it's hard to paint these because they like to scratch and stuff like that. But I'm just going to still need a couple of coats. So I'm doing that antique parchment, ivory color, acrylic, and just going over this until I cover all the metal. It likes to kind of, peek through a little bit, looking like a metal distress. So I try to get it as good as I can. And I switched to a brush. I found that the brush worked a little bit better for getting coverage on that because, again, it's a little tricky to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and reattach it to our pumpkin just like we had before. And I think that looks so much better. You can totally read it now. We have a nice contrast and it goes with all the ivory that we used at the top of the pumpkin. So I'm just going to glue my little L and my M back to those front bars. Again, leaving the word flat. I'm not going to have it wrap around the arch of the pumpkin or anything like that. I think it looks better like this. And then I want some lamb's ear on this project too. So this is some of the lamb's ear from Dollar Tree. And the great thing about this is that you can just kind of pull the leaves off and get these individual leaves to work with. And there's all different shapes and sizes. So I'm going to kind of like nestle those in between the little burlap leaves that we had before until I have, lots of greenery here at the top of our pumpkin. Gives it a little bit of color, a little bit of character, and I love those fuzzy leaves on the lamb's ear. They're my favorite. One more large one over here on the side. And just kind of gluing those all in place so that they will lay properly. And maybe one more burlap ribbon or leaf. And this is how it turned out, our little welcome burlap pumpkin sign. I absolutely love it. I had no idea if that technique was going to work, but look how cool it turned out. And it was really very simple to put together. I spent more time, I think, painting the welcome word than I did wrapping the entire wreath with burlap. And it's kind of a cool pattern, right? Okay, the next DIY, we're going to DIY one of these Dollar Tree foam pumpkins. I always prefer the white ones. I find them kind of the hardest ones to find, especially if I'm going to use something that you can kind of see through, which I am because we're going to use burlap on this one. So what I do is I just pop off the foam stem, and then I'm just going to use my scissors to cut, a fairly decent size hole here right in the top. And then we're going to use Dollar Tree burlap to wrap that. So I'm not going to iron in this one because I don't think it's really going to matter because we're going to be wrapping it tight around this pumpkin anyway. You really kind of need a square, and the burlap is kind of a rectangle. So I was kind of seeing how much I could cut off of the burlap to save for later, and it was about this much. So I'm just going to try to cut a straight line here. This is what makes it easier to starch it, is when you go to try cutting it and it's all folded up on you. But we made it work. And now I have a square of burlap that we can cover that pumpkin. And I wanted to do a fun little burlap and succulent pumpkin with this DIY. And it was so easy to DIY. Now, as you can tell, the sides are a little short, but that's okay. I'm going to use my hot glue and just glue to the foam just as high as I can get it on both sides. And I'll have enough overlap from the other side to get that to cover. This side was kind of falling apart on me, but I kept trying and got it glued on there. Now this side's plenty long enough. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start shoving that in the middle using my scissors. And I do that from both sides. And now we have like 4 little corners like sticking up. And that is what we're going to use to cover the area that wasn't covered before. So I cut off any excess fabric because there's no need to like cram tons of fabric down inside of the pumpkin. You just need enough that's gonna get it to hold tight. And you want to grab it and, you know, kind of crease it where it'll sit nicely right against the sides of the pumpkin, and just put the rest of the material there in front. So I definitely trim off the excess fabric on all 4 sides. And when I'm doing this, I am making sure I'm trying to cover the bald spots. I don't really have to cover the bald spots on the very top though, because we're going to cover the top of this with succulents from the Dollar Tree. So this is my 4th and final side. Now I'm going to leave this as is, but you could also wrap it with like some twine if you want to get like each section of the pumpkin, you know, lineated, but I think it looks good enough. Now I picked out 3 of the different succulents from Dollar Tree. I picked out a blue one, kind of an ivory one, and kind of like a honey colored one. And I thought 3 of them would be perfect on top of this. Now these are all built different. This one didn't have a stem when I pulled it off. So I'm just going to use hot glue and glue that towards the back of that hole that we put all the excess fabric in. And the other 2 I have to kind of snip off the stems, because I'm going on top of the burlap, so I can't easily stick it through the foam. And so we're going to attach all 3 of them with hot glue, just kind of having them overlap slightly. And it's just going to be a really fun look with a little succulent pumpkin. And I've actually made a whole pumpkin out of succulents. I'll have to post that DIY soon too. It turned out really cute. Now I think that looks really cute and decorative for the top of it. I did think it needed like a little bit more decoration though. So once I got all those on, I'll show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Spanish moss. So it's looking pretty cute already. I think you can definitely tell that it was a pumpkin. And this is just Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree. I always try to save this if I can after I use it for a project. And I'm just going to take little tiny bunches of it and hot glue that to our burlap, just kind of coming out wherever the little succulents come together. If you had some succulents that like hang down a little bit, you can kind of use that as well, just to give it a little bit more decorative touch. Anywhere you kind of have a gap. I think that looks pretty good. I think this little DIY is ready to go. Isn't it cute? And it was so easy to make.
So there it is, our little burlap pumpkin with succulents on top. This goes great with just about anything because it's going to look good if you like the neutral fall colors. It's also going to look good if you do any of like coastal fall like I do, especially with the succulents and the burlap. But it was really easy to put this one together. And it is so pretty. I love a good pumpkin DIY, and this is definitely one of them.
We're going to use one of these little summer sun hats from the Dollar Tree and just a wood pumpkin. It doesn't have to be a plain one like this. It can be any wood pumpkin from Dollar Tree, because we're going to cover it with that great material that the sun hat's made out of. And this turned out so cool. Now I know that on these sun hats, if you like start unwinding the seam, you can get it into strips. But I'm going to kind of take a different approach on this one. I am going to try to leave a lot of it intact and kind of use like that curved brim of the hat to make my little sections of the pumpkin. So I just went in and like cut the top part off of the hat. And so now I have these great like arched pieces like that I thought I could use to start putting this together. So I just put some hot glue on this side. I try to line up the arch with the side of my pumpkin, and then I just trim it down and secure it with hot glue. It's a nice thick material, so you can use hot glue on this, no problem. And that should be strong enough to keep it on there. And then I just go around and trim that up close to the side of the pumpkin to give me that great pumpkin shape. And we're going to cover the entire pumpkin kind of using that strategy. So that was like that section of the pumpkin. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. Just kind of lining the arch up there with it. and doing that whole section up into the little section like there at the bottom where it kind of goes in a little bit, goes almost all the way there. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the material here in the middle too. It's going to give us this really cool, like almost like a seagrass, a faux seagrass effect on the pumpkin. And it looks so great, especially for like neutral decor. I was trying to like, you know, kind of line this up how that would like kind of arch a little bit. It's not near as arched as the sides of it, but we're going to kind of piece it together little by little. And so I just hot glue a strip of it right here. And then I can kind of trim it into that like arched shape for like a little pumpkin section to kind of keep that same pattern going that we had on the sides. I'm going to use another strip there from the side of the hat to do the same thing. And you could, you know, separate this into the individual pieces and kind of put it together piece by piece, but I think it was a little bit easier kind of keeping them connected like this. And right now it looks a little like crazy, but we're going to make this look better. So I went ahead and cut individual strips to kind of do the middle section here because I saved the very top of the hat to kind of cut in like an oval shape for that section of the pumpkin. And it'll have that nice like round center. So I go ahead and hot glue that right in the center, which makes sense, right? And then using my strips, I can kind of frame that out, clean it up, make it look a little bit better. And they kind of look like the little sections of a pumpkin, just hot gluing that all down. Now, one advantage of cutting the strips is you don't get like the little plastic strings as much, but I think those might not be so bad if you pull them out before you kind of put something together. But I just used some twine to go over the little pumpkin stem. This is some thicker twine, and I just hot glued it and just ran it up on the pumpkin stem. You know, rope or twine always makes a great pumpkin stem for these. And I'm going to kind of just make it the same length that it was before, so that looks good. And I really kind of like the vibe of this. Definitely the little section pieces really helped kind of give it that pumpkin vibe, but it was a really cool texture. So I wanted to make like a sign to go behind it. So I wanted it to be kind of heavy duty too. So I'm going to use 2 of the wood plank boards from Dollar Tree. You could also use like the wood shelf signs. I like to put those together to make signs as well. These are cut pretty square. Sometimes you need to sand the ends of them because they're a little rough, but usually they have one side that's got a really nice smooth surface that's great for making signs. The other side is usually a little bit rougher, I've found. So I'm just going to go around with my sanding block, kind of clean it up a little bit, and then we can just attach the 2 pieces together. It's so thick and kind of square that you can just use hot glue and glue the 2 pieces together to get a larger sign. And it's a great source of wood. You could always stain it if you wanted to. I kind of want like a driftwood feel to mine, so I'm going to start with some ivory acrylic, kind of do a base coat of ivory acrylic all over. And then once I get that on there and dry, I'm going to go back with some Antique Wax by Waverly and kind of do a wood, like a little bit of a wood grain just by distressing in one direction like this. Just kind of all over, and then kind of blend it with a baby wipe, kind of make it a little bit softer. And it's going to give me kind of a really cool, like kind of driftwood finish. Now, I have some extra like little sawtooth hangers. I always save those off of the canvases that I DIY from Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to use that to hang this sign. So I love these because they don't have any of the little tiny nails. You can just use your hammer and hammer them right in. And I think that looks good. So let's go ahead and attach our little like faux seagrass pumpkin. I kind of wanted it to sit up a little bit just because the stem was wrapped in rope. So I didn't think it was going to sit too level. So I'm just going to use a couple of wood dominoes from Dollar Tree just to make a base there. You could use anything like a jenga block or something like that. And then I hot glue this to the back side using the twine wrapped stem and the area where we added the little wood dominoes. Now, at first I was going to add this little galvanized metal leaf on there, but I decided that a word would look way better. So These are the little metal fall words they have every year at Dollar Tree. And it is the perfect size for this pumpkin. So just have to decide what I want mine to say. And I think I like the word welcome on there. I'm just going to leave it galvanized metal like that. I think it looks really good with like the ivory and the wood colors on that. So it's just a matter of attaching that. I'm just going to do some hot glue here in a few places, trying to make it not so obvious. I don't want glue coming out everywhere. So just a couple places to tack that down. And then I think every pumpkin needs some little pumpkin tendrils. So I use some wire jute from the Dollar Tree. Just wrap it around something the shape of a pen. Make a little pumpkin tendril to add to our pumpkin stem up here. I've got a little room behind the pumpkin so I can kind of glue it right underneath. And cut off any wire that might be sticking out. Then for a pumpkin leaf, I thought it would be really cute to use some of these fall leaves from Dollar Tree. These are kind of the ivory ones. So again, very neutral. And I thought maybe they are a little bit different. So I chose like a large one and then like a small one. Maybe we'll have like 2 little pumpkin leaves up here. And again, I have that kind of space there so I can just put some hot glue on the little leaf stem and glue that into place. It's going to kind of fill up that empty spot of our little fall sign. And it's going to provide a little bit more decor. I'm going to layer the smaller one right on top. And just securing that all down with some hot glue. And I really love how this turned out. I think it's so pretty. It's got a very like classy feel to it. And again, if you don't like a lot of color in your fall, I know a lot of you guys like to decorate like neutrals for fall. This would be great for that. And here it is. This is how it looks hanging in my home.
This has been one of my most popular fall DIYs I think I've ever done here on my channel. Really popular. I would love to see it if you create it for your home. And it was really fun. I love crafting with those hats and the bags that are kind of like that from Dollar Tree. They also have them in colors now. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, let's do another neutral fall DIY.
I'm going to use this little wood round from the Dollar Tree. It does have a word on the other side of it, which I don't really need, but that's okay because I can always just make that the back of my sign. And I thought I could combine that with one of the wood bead wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I love those things. And a Dollar Tree burlap leaf and see if we can kind of make a larger version of that. So I want to leave the wood bead garland or the wreath the natural color. So for the wood round, I'm actually going to stain it. And I'm going to do the same kind of technique where I just do a thin coat of Antique Wax by Waverly on the sign and then wipe it off with a baby wipe while it's still wet. And it's going to give us a beautiful, like kind of medium warm stain on here. Definitely going to go with our neutral colors. This DIY was so easy to make because I'm going to use one of the little burlap maple leaves like this from the Dollar Tree. I chose one of them. The maple leaves are really kind of large, but I think it's going to work well with this. And I kind of liked the tan burlap color. So I'm actually going to leave the little wire on there to make it look like a leaf stem here. I just kind of bend it to one side just to give it a little bit of character. And we can attach that to our wood round. And I think like the burlap, the stained wood, and then the unfinished wood on the wood beads, it's all going to go really well together for neutral colors. I just glued the wire down because I want the rest of the burlap leaf to kind of stick up a little bit on the sides, kind of adding a little bit more dimension to the whole project. Kind of fold them up like that. And there was a little glue already on the wire there, so I'm just going to kind of clean that up to kind of make that look more like a leaf stem, less like a wire. And I'm glad I left that on there because I think it looks cool. Now I'm going to take some Dollar Tree twine and I'm going to make a hanger for the wood round to attach it to the wood bead wreath, but I'm also going to make it also a hanger. So I just cut down some twine. I burned off the fuzzies in advance and I threaded that through. Now I'm going to have it connect here where the wreath form connects. So I actually just string that through And I made sure that it was long enough that I could have a hanger on it too. It's a little tricky just trying to get it through, but it's basically just going to double knot it. So I knot it once, or double knot it here. Make sure that it's going to hang exactly where I want it to in my wreath form. And then I can take that same twine and knot it again just to make a little wreath hanger. Now, I'm going to use this on my wall, but you could always use this for a wreath for your door as well. The colors are beautifully neutral, and this would go with any kind of color scheme. And this is how it turned out. I told you this one was going to be really easy.
And I'm a big fan of those wood bead wreaths like that from the Dollar Tree. Having them pre-made like that, and for $1.25, I think it is a really good bargain. And I always love the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so cute and really easy to craft with.
Now, I have a foam pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, and I thought it would be really fun to do a raffia pumpkin. I don't think I've ever done a raffia pumpkin. So to do that, I'm going to use a Dollar Tree grass skirt. So I just took 4 of the pieces that were knotted on the twine on the top of the skirt and pulled those off, and we're going to do 4 at a time. So I just pull off the stem on the foam pumpkin. If you can find the white foam pumpkin at the Dollar Tree, it's going to make your life easier. Otherwise, you might need to paint it because you might be able to see it through a little bit when you're done wrapping it with raffia. But I just tucked my knotted ends inside, pulled it around, cut it down a little bit just because it was a little long. I don't want to fill up the entire inside of the pumpkin with extra, and tucked that in. And I am just going to repeat that process till we cover the entire pumpkin. So I did 4 again. I just popped the knots inside the pumpkin hole there, wrapping it around, trying to keep it as tight up against the pumpkin as I can, trimming off, about 6 inches or so, and tucking that down inside. So you can kind of see how much coverage. I think that maybe we could get away with like 6 or 8 more rounds of that. So I just keep repeating the same process. I pull off 4. That's about as much as I can really work with at a time. And stuff it inside, wrap it around, and trim it before I put the end in. Now, I think this is probably the easiest foam pumpkin that I've ever DIY'd from Dollar Tree. It was way simpler than I thought it would be, and probably the trick of using the grass skirt kind of helps with that. Now, check your Dollar Tree if you don't have any grass skirts at home or raffia, because they might still have some of these. Some of my Dollar Trees move the summer stuff to a back end stand or the party section. I usually can find these year round down here. And so I just keep wrapping. I'm not really paying attention to a pattern at this point. I just want to cover it until I don't see any more of the white foam through it. And it was starting to get a little full inside there too. I could still see a tiny bit of foam, so I'm going to do another round here, shoving that inside, and then we will replace the pumpkin stem with something else. I thought one of these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree, these are the ones that kind of look like stems, would be perfect. And so it's really easy. All you got to do is push it in the hole that you created, that you put all the raffia in, until you have a little pumpkin stem. Now, I think it's really cute. I love the neutral color, but I thought maybe we should dress it up a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I wanted to do a pumpkin leaf. So this is a little green leaf from the package of multicolored leaves at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use that nice and neutral with some Spanish moss from Dollar Tree. And I just take some of that and kind of tie it around. I'm not going to really hot glue that on. I kind of want that to look imperfect, kind of like a vine, if you will. And I'm not going to do any tendrils or anything like that. I'm going to kind of get that look from this. And I think this really added a nice, natural element to it to combine with the raffia. but I don't want it to be too crazy. So I do trim it up a little bit, arranging it. And then to finish off this DIY, we're going to add just a little green leaf here, trying to find the perfect spot for it and just hot gluing that on. And we have a neutral raffia pumpkin, perfect for fall decor. And one thing I love about fall decor, I decorate for fall now, like I'm decorated now for fall. But I have to take a lot of it down to make room for all of my Halloween decor. But then I put my fall back up for Thanksgiving because I don't like to skip Thanksgiving. So this is how it turned out. I think this is really pretty. You know, the foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree are not too large, so this would pretty much fit anywhere. And it would also be good for a tier tray as well, I think, for fall.
And I love it when I can use those grass skirts from the Dollar Tree. I think they make great raffia for fall.
I'm going to use this little oval wood plaque that I got at Dollar Tree. And I also have another little Dollar Tree sign there that I'm actually going to use just to make a base for this because I wanted to make it a standing sign. And I didn't really have a little block of wood, like just the right size. So I just took that to my saw and just cut it down so we would have a base for this DIY. Now I want to transform this little wood sign into an acorn. So for the nut part of the acorn, I wanted to make this look burlap. I thought that'd be really cool. And then I have a really fun idea for the acorn cap. So you could always use burlap from the Dollar Tree. I just happen to have a burlap roll sitting here from Walmart. This is like the 6-inch roll, so I'm just going to use it. And I start by gluing it to the bottom. It's about the perfect size I need it to be. And then I want to wrap it around. I want to cover the back too, just because I'm going to have a standing sign. So I want the back to look a little bit finished. So I'm just using hot glue to try to pull it tight around that oval shape. And that's going to be the bottom part of the acorn. So I just trim up any excess burlap back there and glue that side tight. On this one, I'm going to kind of like overlap, you know, to kind of cover up the back of it because pretty much the acorn's going to be all finished. So I'm just going to hot glue that to itself there in the back and then just trim off the excess burlap. Now, I wanted to do an acorn cap on this, and I wanted it to kind of stick out from the acorn like an actual acorn would be. So what I was going to use to put on there, I don't really have anything to glue it to, and I really need some more depth to this. So to start with, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree rope, and we are going to wrap that around the acorn cap. And it kind of looks cool like that, but we're actually going to add more to it. So this is just going to bump it out a little bit and make it look like the acorn cap and give me something to glue the acorn cap to. So I just started in the back and we're just hot gluing this around. I think, I'm not sure which one. I think this is the smaller diameter Dollar Tree rope. I've been finding that a lot more in my stores. It's kind of hit or miss with the Dollar Tree rope. They either have a ton of one kind or another. So I'm just hot gluing it. I do hot glue it tight to the front and the back, and I'm just wrapping it all the way around. That way all the sides are finished, including the sides. Now you could probably do this with the oval wood sign at Dollar Tree that's completely flat, but you're going to get a lot more dimension if you do it with one of their little thicker plaques like this. So once I get to the top part, I'm just going to go smaller and smaller until I fill in the remaining part of the acorn cap. And my plan to do that is to use pine cones. So I wanted to use the little scales from the pine cone to make a really cool acorn cap. Now, I've never taken apart a pine cone before, so it seemed difficult. So I tried a knife, but you know, that really didn't do anything. You really have to just pull all the pieces out. I'm using a couple of pine cones that I just got at Dollar Tree. I don't know, maybe it's easier if you find them outside. But it was a little challenging, so I just pulled out as many of the pieces as I could get, trying to pull out the little scales and get them in one piece. And it's going to take more than you think, always with this, but I thought like the first row here of the little acorn cap We could use little pine cone scales, kind of like this, to kind of give us that scalloped border. And then for the rest of the acorn cap, I'm going to turn the little pine cone scales around to kind of show all the cool colors and design on the other side. So you can do about half of it at a time with your hot glue pretty much still staying wet. And I'm just going to hot glue those on that last rope, overlapping the burlap slightly. This DIY turned out so cool. At first, I was like, oh man, this sounds like a lot of work, but I'm so glad that I did it because it is absolutely beautiful. So definitely going to need tons more of the pine cone scales. So I started pulling apart a second one. And I was able to do the whole thing with two, and these pine cones aren't very big. Now, speaking of Dollar Tree pine cones, though, I got a really big one there the other day. That's like maybe like 6 inches or something like that. And I'm definitely going to save that maybe for Christmas. I think it would be a really fun like Christmas tree DIY because it kind of shaped like a Christmas tree. I thought about using that one, but I wanted to save it. So I pulled out as many as I can easily get to here. And this is what I mean by having the other ones go the opposite direction like this. See how they're kind of like really dark and they have that really cool pattern on it? So I want that to be visible. I think that's going to make it look kind of like an acorn cap. And so I am just going to start hot gluing those on, slightly overlapping the row below it. You can kind of nest them in between the individual ones, but since all of mine were kind of different sizes, I kind of did that if I could, but otherwise I didn't. It doesn't really matter. And I want to cover up basically all of the brown rope until we get the entire thing covered with the little pine cone scales. So that's what it looks like so far. See how different they are when you flip them over? I like all the different colors and brown on these. I'm going this direction. And I think normally when you pull the pine cone scales out, they kind of have a spike on them. But mine kind of broke off is how I could get them out. So mine didn't really have that problem. And I'm in Florida, so I kind of have to go somewhere if I'm going to find a pine cone. I mean, I guess I could find somewhere in town, but not in my yard or anything like that. So I usually buy them. And I'm going to need a stick here in a minute too. And I have no sticks in my yard because I only have palm trees. And so I'll show you what I end up doing for that part. So I just keep going one row at a time, hot gluing those in place. And as you can see, I am slightly wrapping that around both sides so that it looks really good and finished. If it was going to be in a place where you could really see all the sides, you might want to wrap it all the way around. Now, this is a nice small DIY too. I think this would be a really good DIY for like a tier tray for fall. I haven't decided where I'm going to put mine yet, but I really love how it turned out. Now, I got that far and I was like, I think I need more pine cone scales. So I was able to get a few more off those two. And they're a little bit smaller, but that's okay because I'm just filling up this top part. And I just continue with the rows until it is completely finished. Now, I told you I needed a stick for this. And the reason why is I need like a little stick coming out the top of the acorn. And again, I didn't really have anything, but I did have some fall greenery that had these little plastic stick pieces on it. So you know what? We're going to make do with that. So basically, I just want a little tiny stick like an acorn would have, just coming right out the top. Not too big though. And I'm just going to attach that with hot glue. Now I want to display this wonderful acorn on a base. So that's why I cut down that other sign before. It's just a matter of attaching it. Now I was thinking hot glue might not be strong enough all by itself. So I thought maybe if I took a nail, I could go through the bottom and give me a little bit more to anchor with. So I'm going to use some Dollar Tree nails here. And I'm going to put some wood down because I want to protect my silicone mat here. And I'm just going to hammer this nail right in the bottom. I am going to off-center it a little bit though, because the acorn, I kind of want to sit it at an angle. So that would make more sense. So I am just going to hammer that in the bottom, and it's going to be sticking up, and hopefully, you know, the wood would be soft enough just to kind of lay that on there. And it actually worked out better than I could imagine. So that looks good. I have to decide exactly how I want this. I wanted mine tilted slightly to the left. So I just kind of pushed it on there, and the wood was soft enough that it accepted the nail really well. Then I can hot glue under it as well. So the hot glue and the nail in combination. And then I wasn't so sure it was going to be strong, so I did add some more hot glue here a couple times to make sure that this is going to be nice and strong. It's not super heavy, so I'm not real worried about it falling over or anything like that. But I think the nail was definitely the trick if you're going to have yours be standing like this. Just giving it a quick trim here to clean up the back and maybe a little bit more hot glue. And this DIY is complete. I think it turned out so cool. Look at all those fun pine cone scales on the top of that acorn. I think this is my favorite acorn DIY that I've ever done. The colors are all super neutral, and I think this would look great with any fall decor. So this is how it turned out. The scales of that pine cone are beautiful, aren't they? Who knew? It's my first time ever taking one of those apart. I don't think I've ever taken a pine cone apart before, but I think it turned out really cool. What do you guys think? Okay, next DIY, I picked up this little pumpkin sign at the Dollar Tree the other day. It does have a little bump out autumnward. Unfortunately, it's like really just cardboard, so I don't think there's much luck on saving it. I'm just gonna pop it off with heat and a putty knife. I just wanted this reform. It was just the right size for me. I don't really care about the image or anything that's on there because I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to see what it would look like if I covered one of these pumpkins from the Dollar Tree with some of their new macrame cord. You guys know I love this. I've been crafting with this stuff all the time, and I thought maybe we could kind of get like the sweater look vibe on the front of this with the macrame cord, and so that's what we're going to try to do. Now this pumpkin has like 3 sections, so we're going to do like kind of one section at a time. I just start by hot gluing along the top of the pumpkin and then going around the outline of the pumpkin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up doing like 3 ovals, which is going to cover the whole pumpkin. So I'm going to just get started with the left side. I put down like a whole bunch of hot glue to try to speed me up, but honestly, I don't know if that really speeded me up or not, but you do kind of have to hot glue here and there to make sure it is going to be stuck to it. But I'm just going to repeat that same spiral pattern all the way on this section of the pumpkin until we fill the whole thing up. I've done something similar with the Dollar Tree like white nautical rope, like unwoven with other DIYs, and so I thought we could try to do this for a pumpkin, and I really love how this turned out. Now it is a lot of hot gluing, so be careful and don't burn yourself. And now I'm just going to start doing it here on the other side. They have some really cute fall decor items this year, even though my Dollar Tree by my house still doesn't have theirs out. They have like a little bit of Halloween, but all of it is still sitting in the boxes. I was about ready to pitch in and help them stock the shelves today just so I could see what they have. But some of the stuff is really cute. Some of the stuff like this one, I kind of wanted to remake. So now this middle section, I do want to go ahead and fill it in just so I have a flat surface to work with when I do my middle oval. So I just kind of had to get creative, almost doing like triangle shapes here at the top and the bottom, just to fill that all in. And then we can start with our third oval. I wanted this to be 3D, and I want this to be kind of overlapping the 2 ovals on the side. So I just start with a long piece in the middle, and then I'm starting from the inside outside on this one, hot gluing around until I go from the top to the bottom of the pumpkin. And you can already tell kind of how cool this looks. It is a little time consuming with the hot gluing, but really it's kind of a mindless crafting. You can get it done pretty easily. I think that looks pretty good. And then to finish it off, I thought we could use one of these like little leather tags. They did bring these back again this year for fall at Dollar Tree, and I love them. I thought we could do like the little harvest tag here. It's like a brown leather. It has a little strap. So we can kind of take advantage of that by actually just using that strap and using that to tie that right around the pumpkin. I think it totally goes with that like sweater vibe that I was going for. I'm just going to tack mine down with a little hot glue just to make sure that it stays in place. And this DIY is complete. I originally was going to paint it that same like honey kind of color, but I loved it with just the white macrame cord. And so I think I'll leave it just like that. I think it looks really cozy for fall. You could also try this with, some of their colored macrame cord they have now, but I really like the wood stem, the brown leather combined with the white rope.
Definitely more of a neutral color scheme for fall, but I think it looks so cozy and fun. Kind of reminds me of a fall sweater.
Okay, next DIY. I want to DIY one of these vases from the Dollar Tree, one of my favorite things to DIY. And then I have some pampas grass from the Dollar Tree and some fall pampas grass. It's a little bit shorter, but it's got that beautiful like honey color. Now, I thought we could use one of these little sun hats from the Dollar Tree to kind of make like a seagrass, like a braided seagrass look on that Dollar Tree vase. Let me show you how easy this is to do. Now, I've always cut this stuff in the past, but I found that if you just get it started with the thread, it just peels right off. It's like a plastic thread that they use to keep this together. Look at this. You just pull and it comes apart. Now, it's not super clean. Some of the plastic thread does like to stick out, but I think that's pretty cool. I used pretty much just the brim of the hat. I think that's going to be enough to cover the Dollar Tree vase. And it's a great way to take a cheap $1.25 vase like this and make it look really high end. So to attach it, I'm just using hot glue. Right there to get me started, and I'll use some hot glue along the bottom just to make sure that I keep like this bottom row exactly where it should be, and I go all the way around. Now, I don't want to cut and start again. I do want to just keep wrapping it. So then I just slightly go up and I'm just overlapping like the seagrass, like right below it slightly. And I'm just kind of wrapping with pressure, but then just hot gluing here and there, just to make sure it's going to stay tight and not come unwound. But I couldn't believe how easy it was to take this stuff apart. I'm going to have to remember that. I use the purses a lot to decorate with because it gives you a cheap like Dollar Tree version, but you get kind of like that seagrass look. With this pattern, it's like really looks woven. It looks really cool. So I go all the way to the top, just hot gluing it to itself. And we have a new vase. I think that color is going to go perfect with a fall theme. But like I said before, you can kind of see there's little plastic threads kind of sticking out all over from that. And so I don't know the best way to remove them. I did try giving it a quick trim with some scissors. I did even try a lighter, but it didn't really work too well. I did notice if you grab them though, the ones that were kind of like really obvious, and kind of tug on them, you could kind of pull them out. And so that's what I kind of did. But in the end, they don't stick out very much. So I don't think it's going to be super obvious. But that might be the only downside of the way that I took it apart. But I think that looks pretty good. So let's fill this up with some Dollar Tree flowers. I wanted to combine this pampas with the regular pampas, both from the Dollar Tree. I do kind of like the fact that they're different lengths, but I do like the other one a little bit better just because it seems like The pampas looks a little bit better than these fall color ones. They also had these in orange today at my Dollar Tree that I also picked up for Halloween. So I'm just going to go ahead and take all the tags off of these. Then we can arrange them in the vase. I thought like one of this color, which is the only one I have left. I've already DIY'd with this before. I made a pampas wreath in a previous video. And then two of like that honey color, kind of like on each side of the vase for a fun little floral arrangement. Now I got it all on there and I decided I needed to add some sand to my vase to make it easier to stand these up. And so I'm going to go ahead and put them back in there. That way I can arrange them a little bit. I just put some little bit of Dollar Tree sand in there. And I thought it still needed something. I love the colors, but I thought it needed something more that just kind of like screamed fall. And I remembered I had some Dollar Tree leaves, like a pick of leaves with very similar colors. And so I'm going to see how that looks, adding it. I think maybe I've used a few leaves off this before, so I'm just kind of removing any empty stems that I can find just to clean that up. But I think there's still enough leaves left on here. And I'm so glad I added the leaves to the pampas grass because the combination of the two of them is absolutely beautiful. They just really work well together. Let me try to kind of show you. Can't really lean it too much, so let me show you how this looks in my home. It's so pretty. I love those colors. That honey color is really growing on me. And this is how it looks all together. I kind of did the pampas grass off to one side, the fall leaves on the other side. And how cool does that vase look?
I've done a lot of vase DIYs on my channel, and I think this is one of my favorite, and it's really versatile. You could use it for any season, not just for fall.
I am going to use one of these little gather signs from the Dollar Tree. You know, I love the fact that they're giving you the word like on the plain sign like this, but again, it does make it a little trickier to try to paint it. Now, I love the like ivory sign on the back, so I think that's fine because we're going neutral. So I thought we would just stain the raw wood gather with some antique wax by Waverly, and I'm just doing that with a makeup sponge, trying to not get like a significant amount of that on the sign underneath, but it's kind of inevitable that you're going to get some on there, but that's okay because I wanted to distress the ivory sign anyway. Goes with my coastal farmhouse vibe in my house. And so to do that, I just use a baby wipe and I just basically wiped all the antique wax that I accidentally got on the sign on it and just kind of evenly kind of blended that, dispersed it all over, made it look a little bit more rustic. And it is cool, though, for $1.25 that you can get that sign and it's already got the word gather on it. I guess that's like half the price than if you were going to put, you know, both the pieces together. So for the frame, I thought we could frame it out with some of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon. I really love this zigzag pattern. I think it's really cool. And I think that's going to go great for the neutral color scheme for these DIYs. And it's going to add a lot of texture with a little bit of burlap. I love burlap. We're going to use that a lot today. And this is just one application of it. So I just hot glued one into the other, trimming off. And then I'll just fill in the open space here on the side of my frame with some more of the burlap ribbon. And I do want this to be a hanging sign like it was before. And I am kind of covering up the holes with this, but I'll show you how I go about fixing it. I'm going to take some Dollar Tree twine to make the hanger, and I like to go in and knot it in the front anyway. I find the Dollar Tree signs lay better against your wall when you do it that way. So I knew I needed to go through the tiny hole in the sign and the frame and the burlap ribbon that we added to it. So I'm actually going to use a needle. I picked up these large upholstery needles actually at Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square. And then I just thread it through from the back, tying it into the front, and problem solved. I'm going to make it about the same length as it was before on the hanger. And basically that's all we're going to do with this sign. I love the neutral colors. I think it's really pretty. You could use this, you know, for fall. It's going to last you through Thanksgiving too. And it's going to go great if you have like a neutral color scheme for fall. So you can see the distressing on the back is kind of imperfect, but I kind of like that. It definitely makes it look kind of old.
Really neutral though, and a really easy fall sign. Do a fall Kirkland's dupe.
This one was like a white textured pumpkin canvas art print, regularly $39.99 from Kirkland's. And I thought we could DIY this with one of the Dollar Tree burlap canvases because it's already kind of that brownish color, right? So they kind of had a wood frame on theirs. And for that, I thought we could use some of the 5-gallon paint stirrers from Walmart. So I'm just going to use my football pumpkin. Isn't that adorable? I picked that up at Dollar Tree the other day, just for a stencil. But, you know, a pumpkin shape is so easy. You can probably figure this out if you don't have anything. But I had this handy and it was the right size. So I'm just going to use that for a stencil and then use a Sharpie. I'm going to have mine slightly go off the bottom and the side like the original. And since I have a, you know, rectangular canvas instead of a square, I chose a long pumpkin. I thought that would look good. Now to make the textures, I'm just going to use hot glue. So right where I put my Sharpie line, I'm going to go in with kind of my fine tip hot glue gun here and just start sketching that out. And this is going to provide us that texture that you see in the original. So I just do the border, do a couple lines right here for the little pumpkin stem. And then I'm going to do like, I think I can fit like 4 little pumpkin lines in, kind of arched a little bit to go along the sides of where the pumpkin would be there. So I do each side and then I do another 2 here in the middle. And that is mainly the texture that I saw in our inspiration piece. And once we paint all that, it's going to provide us that cool texture. Now, I thought that looked pretty good, but I thought maybe I should make like the outside of the pumpkin a little bit thicker. So I did go back in there with another coat of hot glue on that. And you want to clean up any like hot glue strands or anything like that that you might have, because when you go to paint it, you're going to be able to see it. But I think that looks pretty good, and I think we can start painting it. But we just have to let the hot glue set up. I'm just burning off those strands, and I have an air conditioner in my garage, so I wouldn't put it in front of the air conditioner for a minute, like a window unit, and it's set right up. Now I'm just using regular ivory acrylic paint. And we are gonna paint this. See how that great texture turns out? And I kind of like the imperfect nature of the hot glue. It's gonna make it look even more handcrafted and unique. And I'm just gonna go in and paint that. I did switch to a smaller brush when I'm kind of going around the edges. I don't want to go too crazy there. But basically, I want to do a nice thick coat of the ivory in there. I thought at first that I might have to do like spackle, to do like a spackle texture to kind of get this look. But I was really impressed with how well this burlap painted. If you put a good coat of paint on there, it really does seal up the burlap and you don't see all those little burlap holes if you just gave like a thin coat of paint on there. So I just went over the whole thing. I noticed that my hot glue kind of looked a little bit grayish. So I do go in there and touch that up a little bit until I get a nice ivory coat. I dried it and then I just go back in any areas where I kind of had any holes or any areas that were a little bit thin. I just added another touch of paint. And that's basically it for the canvas part. Just a little bit of hot glue and some acrylic paint and one of these little burlap canvases, which I am obsessed with. Every time I see these, I try to grab a stack because they are great for coastal crafting. But look at this, they're great for fall crafting as well. So I'm just going over everything, making sure it is good and white. And I really love how that turned out. Now, the 5-gallon paint stirrers from Walmart, they're like a couple dollars. You get 3 of them, and one can be for each side. And then this one, I'm going to cut it twice to this length for the top and the bottom. And we're just going to make a really easy little chunky frame. I just cut left to right, side to side for the top and the bottom. I'll fill the rest of the space in when I go to do the side pieces. I was trying to decide if I wanted it boxy or kind of in the middle, and I decided I wanted it in the middle. So I just do a band of hot glue on the middle of my paint stick, and I'm going to stick that directly to my canvas. I decided to attach it this way because I didn't want any like real visible nails or anything like that, which you could do. But I noticed the sides of the canvas are a little bumpy, and if I use hot glue, I can kind of mold the frame to go tight up against the burlap as I can get, and it actually turned out pretty well. So I got my top piece on, and we're going to do the same thing here with the bottom. Just gluing it about halfway. And be careful, like I thought that my paint was dry, but the paint on the back of the canvas was wet. And it made me get it on the frame. So I got to clean that up real quick. It definitely went through the holes a little bit. And now we just need 2 side pieces for our frame. I wanted it to be kind of constructed like this, so you could hang it or you can sit it. I'm going to use it like kind of as a shelf sitter artwork for my home. So I cut down a side piece. I didn't cut it down great though, and it fit better on the other side, so we're going to go with that. So same thing, we're just going to glue it on. This time I put glue on each end of the top frame and then glue along the sides. That way I can kind of glue everything together in one straight shot, just trying to keep it as square as I can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it looks kind of square and it stands properly, I'm totally going to be fine with it. So one more paint stick. And one of y'all told me that you guys get like paint sticks from, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's. And it must be the smaller ones. I don't know. They sounded like they're really cheap. I have never bought paint sticks from there before, but maybe I'll have to check that out because I always love these large ones from Walmart. And if they're cheaper than the Dollar Tree rulers, then maybe I need to stock up on some because I love using them for crafting. So I've got it all glued on there. And this DIY is complete. I love it. It turned out so cute. And I think it looks pretty close to the original. So here is what we were trying to dupe. This white textured pumpkin art print from Kirkland's for $39.99. And here is our Dollar Tree version with a $1.25 canvas plus a couple dollars for the paint sticks. Really easy to DIY. And I love the simplicity of this. If you did like a neutral fall, this is going to go so nicely with your decor. And isn't it cute? I love kind of the imperfect nature of it. It's just kind of a work of art. Okay, I love this sign from the Dollar Tree. It says, "Live simply and be grateful." The colors are perfect because it has like a picture of burlap around the edges, has like a bluish pumpkin here in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and remove the little burlap bow. I'm going to save that for later. And I thought we could add some details from the Dollar Tree to kind of make this more of a 3D sign, bump everything out and make it even prettier. So I got one of the little wood pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to make a pumpkin that kind of sticks out more 3D towards the front. That's going to kind of shield the one in the back. I kind of want to do it the same color. I don't really have this color though, so I'm mixing some cloudless, a tiny bit of green and some ivory to try to get that like minty green color. And kind of wiping off the excess with a baby wipe just to give it a very light stain. I also want to do some shading there for like the creases of the pumpkin. And so I added a little bit more of like a darker blue to it, the turquoise, just to give it a little bit more color, distressing that with a baby wipe as well to kind of blend it in. And I end up adding to this a little later on, but that's what we have so far with it. Just a very light stain. And then I thought we could just top the pumpkin and cover up the hanger at the top with that burlap ribbon that was already on the sign. Now to build it out a little bit, add some fun touches. We're going to start with these little burlap oak leaves from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to remove the wire off of these. And we can attach one of these to each side. It's going to be a fun little fall leaf. And then again, these are the little berry picks from the fall section at the Dollar Tree in ivory. And they're all kind of bundled together. So I want them to be kind of smaller bundles so that I can kind of piece those together and put them right where I want them. But I don't want like a huge mass sticking out. I want it to be a little bit flatter. The little pieces that I can use to decorate the sign. And this sign is already so cute, but adding all the little touches to it to kind of make it look more 3D really brought it out and made it really fun. Just trying to figure out how I could bump the pumpkin out a little bit so it can be bumped out more than everything else. I think that would be cute. And then we'll have the bow attached to it just like that. Now for a little greenery, I'm going to use the lamb's ear from Dollar Tree again. I've pretty much went through all of my lamb's ear from Dollar Tree. I'm going to have to stock up on this again. I love it. I use it all the time. And I think I have a plan. I just need something to work as a spacer. So I'm going to use one of these little wood puzzle pieces from the Dollar Tree. You won't be able to see it back there, but it's going to lift up my pumpkin enough so that I can glue some greenery and things underneath of it. So I first start with the lamb's ear, and I'm going to kind of cover up the sunflowers on there and a lot of the greenery that's on there, but some of it will be peeking out from behind these little burlap leaves on the side. And I just kind of overlap those on top of the lamb's ear, going out in the same directions. And then I really didn't think that you could see the sections on this. So I add a little bit more ivory distressing on the sections, this time going lighter instead of darker to see if that could make it look a little bit more 3D. And then I'm going to glue that to the star and gluing the star down to the pumpkin. It's almost the same size as the pumpkin that was on the sign. And then to cover the little hole on top, we're using that same bow that was on the pumpkin before. I think it's going to be perfect. I'm just going to kind of shape it and trim it to make it look a little better and hot glue it right there on top of the little ornament hole there. Now for the little berries, I'm going to fill in that section there at the bottom to cover up the flowers and stuff like that and just kind of make it look really nice and soft. I'm also going to add some more of the lamb's ear. So I'm going to pull off some more pieces and we're going to kind of layer all of these together, hot gluing everything down as well. With the little pumpkin bumped out, it's great because you can just glue the little stems for the greenery right underneath. And it kind of covers up any of the things that you don't want to see. And now it's just a matter of attaching all of the berries. I'm going to kind of keep them all on the bottom. And I just attach this with hot glue until we fill in this section here at the bottom. And this is just a fun way to take a little $1.25 sign from Dollar Tree and just take it up a notch, make it so much more special. I want a little bit more lamb's ear, so I'm going to do a couple more pieces, kind of layering it underneath the burlap leaves, kind of sticking out to the sides. And I love how all these colors work together. Absolutely beautiful. And this will be great because you can have this up all the way through Thanksgiving. Now, I told you I was going to add to this. I still kind of wanted more of a 3D look to this pumpkin, and so I decided to use some of this cloudless paint, just the plain blue, and do just a little bit more contour there. And I really like that kind of two-tone look. That definitely helped. And this is how it turned out. Live simply and be grateful. That is great advice. And I'm so glad that they knew how to spell grateful because my other fall sign from them this year, they misspelled that word. But this is how it turned out. And I really liked adding the second color to that little pumpkin. I think it has so much more character now. Okay, the next DIY, I found these great long feather signs from the Dollar Tree. So I picked up 3 of the signs that were all different. They have different kinds of light wood, dark wood, and even white on them. And I thought if we put all 3 of the giant feather signs together, we could make a really fun fall display. And I want to again add a little bit of that gold glam vibe to it. So I have to kind of figure out how I want to add the gold to them. I decided that stem that goes down the middle of each one of the feathers is a kind of a no-brainer of something to make gold on these. And so I'm just using a small brush and some metallic gold acrylic paint again and trying to stay within the lines. But I followed it up with a baby wipe. It did a good job. I tried to switch to maybe a little bit smaller brush here. Now, this was the only giant feather sign out of the 3 that had like the different parts of the stem going off on the sides. I wish they all did because I think that's a cool effect, and that is a great place to add the gold besides just the center vein of the leaf. But I don't know if feathers are necessarily fall, but they totally looked fall to me. And so I'm going to go ahead and just paint those little side sections as well. Again, trying to stay in the lines if I can. But I thought like the 2-tone wood looks really pretty on its own. So we're going to go ahead and leave that. And again, if you really want that gold metallic look, you are going to have to go over them a couple of times. Now this one does not have the side parts. It's only got like the stem here going down the center of the feather. And so basically that's all the gold bling that's going to go on this one. But I think it's enough just to give it a little bit of class and color. And finally, the third one is like the dark wood and the light wood together. No white, no side stripes on this one either. So I'm just going to do the middle vein of the feather on this one as well, painting that with a gold metallic. And then I thought we could bundle all 3 of these leaves together at the top and really make a really fun, beautiful wall display that's actually pretty large. Have you guys seen these feather signs at your Dollar Tree? I was really excited to find them. I definitely wanted one of each. I just wanted them all to be different, just for a little bit of variety. But I kind of wish I had got more because I think they're so lovely. Now, again, you do have to go back in with a second coat of that gold acrylic to get that nice gold shine. So I'm going to go ahead and update these last 2 that I did with just a second coat. This one was a lot easier because you just have to go down the center of them. And maybe a little touch up on this one as well. And then I'll show you how I put all 3 of these together, and I think they look so pretty. Now, that one is my favorite one, so that one's definitely going to go on top. Then I can kind of arrange the other 2 to kind of come out from the sides and from behind and overlap everything like that. I'm going to use the center one because that makes more sense, and take some Dollar Tree twine and simply tie a hanger on right now while I can still kind of get to that one. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted it to be the 2 back ones to be flat like that. It's going to make it bigger, but I don't like the way it lays as well, or if I wanted to overlap. So I decided just to overlap them. So I'm just going to find out what part overlaps, put a little bit of hot glue on the back in those 2 spots and overlap that slightly. And then this one's going to be the top one. So it's going to overlap with that one that we just put on here because that's the tallest one at this point to kind of keep everything level. Then I just tie a knot on the hanger that's kind of threaded through the other one so it'll hang back behind it, kind of hidden. And then I want it to look like it's all tied together with a bow. So again, I'm going to use some of that burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree with the gold border and tie a simple little knot so we can make a really fun little bow for the top of this. Something simple, something with a little bit of gold. And you know, I'm just noticing now that I missed one of the little side pieces that I could have painted gold on that top feather. So you know I'm going to go back and add some more gold to that. Can't believe I didn't notice that. See how I did the 2 to the one side, but I forgot the one on the other side? And then I just hot glue that little bow to the top to make them look like they're all kind of gathered together at the top. And this is how it turned out. Yeah, that's really bothering me now. I'm going to have to go back and add that other gold stripe in there. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh, well. This is what it looks like so far with the metallic gold accents added to the giant wood feathers from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so pretty and interesting. And I think they really do look nice for fall. And then let me show you how that looks. Now, this next DIY, I'm going to use one of these little wood bead wreaths from the Dollar Tree. I think these are new this year. I've never seen them before in the fall aisle. And a couple of Dollar Tree signs. I picked up this one. I really loved the shape of it. I don't really need a hanger on it, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the wood bead hanger that was on there. And I'm going to make it a standing sign by using that little round metal sign from the Dollar Tree. Now, I do want to warm it up, give it a little bit more color. So even though it's already like a wood grain, I can still stain it, even though it's kind of probably finished a little bit. Just by using some antique wax by Waverly, I just work in one direction. And I don't want a dark stain on this. So while my antique wax by Waverly is wet, I take a baby wipe and wipe off all the excess. And as you can see, it kind of lightens up the stain a little bit, but look at that beautiful wood grain. I want to leave the little wood bead wreath with the acorn inside. This exactly how it is. I think it's perfect, but I wanted to add a little warmth with the wood. So this little sign from the Dollar Tree also has the same kind of base. So I'm going to stain it exactly the same way to make that coordinate. These come like in white or black, and I craft with these all the time because they do great to make any kind of sign, standing sign. So I don't really need the hanger on this, so I just trimmed that part off. And I love the little burlap acorn and all of it, so I am just going to hot glue that down. I don't think I worked quick enough here because I put hot glue on, set it down, and I think the hot glue like kind of set up on me because it was totally not sticking. So we'll try that again here, maybe with a better job of hot gluing that on. Just trying to remove any hot glue that's going to interfere with it. And let's try that one more time. I got a replacement of this Ryobi hot glue gun, but now I'm having charging problems with it, which is a totally different problem than I was having with it before. So at this time, I still can't recommend that. It's going to have to do better. So I think that looks great. I love all the different colors of brown, all the neutral colors. And then to get it a standing sign, I just hot glued the little metal ring like this to the back, covering up that design, and then making sure it is glued flat against the back of this sign. And it's not a very heavy sign, so I don't think it'll have any problem standing up on its own. So a really cute little DIY. If you wanted to make yours hanging, you could totally paint or stain the wood beads that were on that sign, but I really like the shape of that sign. I think it turned out really cute, and I really like it as a standing sign. I think it's really fun. So here it is. I finally found a reason to use one of these little wood bead wreaths from the Dollar Tree. And again, nice small project, would be great on a tier tray, but I'm actually going to use it for like cabinet fall decor.
And I think they might have a few different variations of that little tiny wood bead garland this year, so you'll have to see what they have at your store.
I love a good tray for fall, and look at this great tray I found at Target the other day. It was on clearance in their kitchen section for only like $2. It's huge. It's woven. I think it's going to be perfect for fall because it's already got like the great texture, and it's going to go great with this theme of natural fall. So I'm going to do this tray for my living room to sit on my coffee table to bring in some fall to my living room. So the first DIY I want to make today is a pine cone scale pumpkin. I thought this would be a fun DIY. So we're going to use a Dollar Tree pumpkin. I picked this one because it was a little bit smaller, and I know this is going to be a lot of work. And I think it'll be good for the tray. Now, I got this great pine cone. Funny story, one of my viewers, one of you guys, sent me an entire box full of pine cones, acorns. It was amazing. I'm all the way from Oklahoma. So I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to Paula Jellison. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. That was very thoughtful, and these are fantastic to craft with. So thank you. She sent me some really large pine cones like this, and so I'm gonna go ahead. It's gonna take about 1.5 of these kind of, pretty big pine cones that she sent me, and I'm just using my heavy duty KitchenAid scissors and snipping off all the scales. Now, last time I made a pine cone DIY, I did an acorn top and I kind of pulled them off. Scissors are definitely easier. You might lose a little bit of the scale, but I think it's going to be okay because we're going to overlap those. So I just kept trimming until I couldn't really trim any further. But as you can see, these pine cone scales are nice and large, and they're going to make great covering for this pumpkin. So it's kind of messy if you're if you're gonna cut one up. This is like how much of the mess is left behind. But let's get started on our pumpkin. So it's kind of a long, tall, skinny pumpkin. So I'm gonna start right here at the base where it will kind of like overlap the bottom a little bit and glue that on with the pine cone scale coming down and curved. And I want to kind of do those side by side, working my way around, but kind of keeping it level so that it will sit right. I wasn't sure at first if I was going to cover the bottom of the pumpkin or not, but I ended up doing it just to make it look a little bit more professional. And that's what we want to do. We want to cover this entire pumpkin in the pine cone scales. I started out like doing one at a time, and then I was like, I can probably do 2 at a time. My hot glue will stay wet, and that was the case. So that's how it is with 1 row complete. I did a pretty good job of keeping it fairly level. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the next row. Now, ideally, you would kind of nest it down in between the two below it. But again, they're all different kind of sizes. So that works sometimes, but that was kind of my goal, like starting out. Now, the pumpkin itself is orange. So if I do have like a little crack here and there that shows the original pumpkin through, I'm fine with that because it's orange, so it kind of makes sense. But you could always paint it if that bothered you. But just my second row is complete. I just hot glued those all on. Luckily, it fit pretty well. And again, I kind of start staggering them like that, but usually by the time I get going, sometimes they're right on top of each other. But I'm just going to keep building this out. Now, one thing that I noticed from making a pumpkin that was tall and skinny is it doesn't really have like a very traditional pumpkin shape in the end, but I think you can still tell that it's a pumpkin. I hope you can still tell that it's a pumpkin. And as you can see, it is very time consuming to do this, but the end result is so beautiful, and you're going to have a piece that you can keep. Just definitely a work of art. So that's about 3. I think it took me like real time. It might have taken me almost an hour to put this together. So take your time. One thing that I was really proud of though is I did not burn myself with my hot glue once, my hot glue gun. So I did a good job. Now, if you're paying attention to my glue gun drama, I did send back my second Ryobi, the little cordless glue gun that I was testing out for you guys. Like the first one, the glue stick kept getting stuck in it. So I sent that back and they replaced it. With Amazon replaced it, and the new one wouldn't charge right. So when I went to send it back, they didn't offer me a replacement. They only offered me a refund. So I was like, okay. So I think I'll get another one of the Ryobi, the big glue guns that I already have. Mine is kind of wore out, so I could probably use a new one. I'm just using my Sure Bonder here. I don't really like one that plugs in. I really like the cordless, but then you always have the batteries too. So that's how far one pine cone covered my pumpkin. I was hoping it would cover the whole thing, but no such luck. So good thing she sent me a whole bunch of pine cones. It's really funny. She sent me pine cones, acorns, and what was the other thing? Oh, she sent me rose rocks too, which is, I guess, something that's found in Oklahoma. They were very cool, so I'll have to do something with those as well. But very thoughtful and very funny. I laughed really hard when I opened the box. So I'm going to cut about half of this pine cone. I think that's going to be enough to cover it, and continue gluing these around, just doing one row at a time. Now, when I got to the very top of the pumpkin, it is kind of a steep turn to go on the top here. So I did have to be a little creative with how I did it. I'm going to keep all of the scales going the same way, but I'm only gluing it to the pumpkin. So they're kind of like sticking straight out, but enough where they're kind of covering all the orange. You can't really see any of the orange out there. And I'm having to kind of overlap them, underlap them, like put them under the one next to it so it'll kind of make sense. And I got to about there. Now I want to do a pumpkin stem, and I'm just going to make one out of Dollar Tree rope. I just cut like 3 or 4 inches of rope, kind of unwound the edge just a little bit, put some hot glue on the top of the pumpkin, and laid it in there. Hoping to like try to fill in that space that's left in the pumpkin with the rope by hot gluing the strands down in there like that. And then I am going to get a little bit more creative with that rope to make it look a little bit better, but that is a good start. Now you will have strings of hot glue all over from all of that hot gluing, but if you have a heat gun or a blow dryer, you can definitely clean that up. Now I did notice you can see a little bit of orange here, and so I just cut off some little bitty pieces of that rope and filled that in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover the bottom. So I wasn't sure if I was going to cover the bottom, but I had these extra pieces that I'd cut, so I thought I might as well. And this is how I did it. I had to kind of like leave like a triangular part open, just working those underneath, putting one in the middle, and then going back and filling in those little triangular spots with another scale. And I really had just about the perfect amount of pinecone scales to pull this off. And I like that better because now if you picked it up to look at it, because it's so cool, you'll notice it has a finished bottom as well. So then I take the little rope pumpkin stem and I'm unwinding the rope. Now it kind of comes apart into 4 pieces, and I wanted to braid it. So I was like, yeah, this would be easier if I could braid it like in 3 strands. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of gather all of the rope together and then just kind of estimate 1/3 of each. And then I'm just going to braid it like you would just braid hair. To kind of give it a fun take, just because I wasn't really digging just the look of just the rope pumpkin stem. I braided it to here, and then I'm just going to hold that closed and kind of finish it off with hot glue so it will stay glued together right there. Once my hot glue dries, I can trim off all the random little pieces and shape it up a little bit, and I think it looks kind of cool as a braided little pumpkin stem. Now, the only other thing I wanted to do was add a leaf to it, and I couldn't really find any leaves that I had that I really liked, but I really like this little green felt leaf and this little wood wreath from the Dollar Tree. It's like a little mini wreath, and so I'm going to go ahead and borrow that leaf from that little wreath because I think that's going to be perfect. It has a hole in it already, so I just take some Dollar Tree twine and string that through and made it extra long so I could also tie this up. I'm just going to wrap that around our little pumpkin stem and tie that off. And then I'm going to use that excess twine to just do a simple little bow just to make it look a little decorative at the top of our pumpkin. And this DIY will be complete. It was definitely time consuming, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's so cute, and I think it's going to look great on this tray for fall. So here it is, our little pine cone pumpkin. I think it turned out really cute. I'm totally loving that little leaf that we used on there. And look how beautiful all of the little pine cone scales are covering the sides of the pumpkin. And I think it's gonna look great on this fall tray. I think this is gonna bring like a perfect amount of fall to my living room. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back here towards the back of the tray. And we have our first piece complete. Now for the second pumpkin, I wanted to do something a little different, but with natural elements. So we're gonna use one of these little foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. And I just pop off the pumpkin stem. I wanna cover it with fall leaves. Now, most of you guys know I live in Florida, and tropical area, there's no, our leaves don't turn colors or fall off the tree. So I have to use the ones from Dollar Tree. So I'm using these. These are the ones that half of them are like white and half of them kind of have more of a reddish, pinkish color in the middle of it. And a couple of you guys in my comments have been telling me that I can flatten out these Dollar Tree florals with my heat gun. And oh my goodness, you guys are so right. So easy to flatten out the wrinkles in these by just using the heat gun. So great tip if that bothers you with your Dollar Tree florals. Super easy little hack. And thank you for sharing that with me. Anytime you guys know any crafting secrets, be sure to head to my comment section and let a girl know. So I'm gonna use all of them. So it's gonna take like 8 leaves for the bottom half of the pumpkin and 8 leaves for the top half of the pumpkin. So I have half and half. I have like the pure white ones and I have the ones that have kind of the orangish color. And so let me show you how I put it together. I'm going to use like the line marking the halfway of the pumpkin to kind of space out where I need to put these. And I'm pointing them tip down with the white leaves first. And as you can see, some of these are like really off center, but that's okay. I don't think you'll be able to notice. I also glue down the tips of the leaves so they don't stick out too much. And I also glued down the base, but I do want them to stick out a little bit so it'll be kind of obvious that they're fall leaves. Now I'm going to take the orangish ones and overlap them slightly. As you can see, they are bigger. They're going to cover a little bit more of the pumpkin. So I can go a little bit higher with those and they're going to be a little bit longer. I'm not going to glue that one down yet because I want those to overlap the white ones to cover more of the pumpkin. I have the white pumpkin, so if you see some of the openings like between the leaves, it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be real obvious. But if you had one of the colored foam pumpkins from Dollar Tree, you're probably going to want to paint it like a white or a more neutral color. Something's going to blend in with your leaves. So I'm going to do 4 of the white ones like evenly spaced out, gluing them all tip down. And then I will go back and finish the overlap of the ones with a little bit of the orange tint to them. So I also glue down each one of the individual leaf point just to make them, shape them up a little bit. And now we can start with the orange leaves. I like these and I like the ones that are like really tannish. If you wanted to add some color, the blue ones or the purple ones, they have so many colors now, would be great too. I was just at Dollar Tree today and they're starting to put out Christmas here a little bit at a time. It was also 10% off day, which I did not know. And so they gave me a coupon and then I got really excited and I went to the Dollar Tree Plus and they didn't have any coupons. So I didn't get so lucky there. And that would have saved me more money because that place is more expensive. So this is how the bottom half looks with all the tips pointing down, with the white on the bottom, with the orange ones overlapping. So I'm going to need 8 for the top. So I'm going to have to prepare a few more leaves here and then we can cover the top part of this. I noticed that like the plastic is not perfect on these. So when I prepared each one of the leaves, I went in and took the little balls of plastic that were kind of where they're not supposed to be You can kind of see there, just peeling those off, cleaning them up, and then giving them the quick iron with the heat gun. That is a fantastic tip. Now for the top, I was trying to decide if I was going to line it up exactly like I did on the bottom with both points tipping down, but it actually turns out a little different here on the top, and I'll show you how. So I'm going to overlap the white on top of the orange one, same way, tip down. But when I go to do the orange ones, I'm actually going to have those go tip up, and it covers more of the pumpkin, covers more of that white foam that I don't really want you to see. But I'm going to go ahead and do the white ones first because I'm going to be overlapping the orange on top of the white ones again. And so I just do one orange one on top, or one white one on top of each orange one, and just kind of spread those out in all four corners here of the pumpkin. And then we're going to decorate the top of this a little bit, so I don't really have to worry about that open area on the top where you can see some of the foam. We will cover that when we decorate the top of the pumpkin. So this is how it would be if I went tip down on those, but see how much more coverage you can get by having it go tip up. You can cover almost all the white area there. So that's what we're going to do. Again, I just hot glue the base. And then hot glue all the tips just to kind of keep it down. And you can kind of move your tips around a little bit here if you need to kind of cover up the white space on your pumpkin. Because the more coverage you get, the better. And we're just going to glue all those back on. And then we are going to make a little pumpkin stem, decorate the top of this a little bit. And I think that this little leaf pumpkin is going to look really cute sitting next to that little pine cone pumpkin that we just DIY'd. So this was way less time consuming. Really wasn't very hard at all. I'm always trying to find creative ways to cover these little foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree for y'all. And this is just another idea. You'll have to let me know in the comments. I'm thinking about starting Christmas videos. If you guys are interested in me starting Christmas videos yet, you will have to let me know. I feel like it's a little early, but I see other people are doing them already. So you'll have to let me know if you want to see Christmas DIYs soon. So I got them all glued on, both the top half and the bottom half. The very bottom of it is not covered, but I think that's okay, where the sticker is down there. And then for the pumpkin stem, I'm going to use the little wood stems from the Dollar Tree. I always try to get one that's a little bit bent, like this one. And, or you could use 3 skinny ones all together. I decided to use one that was bent. I just poked it down into the pumpkin and also added a little hot glue to make sure that it stays in place. Now I need to cover that little exposed part of the foam there. So I thought some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree would be perfect for that. So I just pulled off some of that. We're going to wrap that around the pumpkin stem. I have a little bit too much, so we're going to trim that down a little bit. And also kind of hot glue it down so it kind of stays in place. And I don't think I'm going to add a leaf or anything to this. I think the leaves on the pumpkin are enough decor. And I really like the little wooden pumpkin stem and the Spanish moss at the top. This is how it turned out. I think it's pretty fun. Another natural fall DIY. If you had real fall leaves in your yard, this would be a fun idea to craft with. And it would look even better than these Dollar Tree leaves. But I do like the colors of these. I think they look really nice together. So we're going to sit that here on this little fall tray and right next to our little pine cone pumpkin. And the next pumpkin is from the Dollar Tree. It's ceramic, but it looks like wood. So I think that's going to be perfect. It's going to be nice warm colors and it's going to complement the other 2 pumpkins that we DIY'd really nicely. And the next item for our little fall tray, I picked up a little brown owl at the Dollar Tree. I think the colors are perfect on this one. His paint job's pretty good. I don't think I really need to do anything to him. I think he's going to go really nicely with all three of those little pumpkins. So we're going to work him in right about here in between those two pumpkins that we DIY'd. And then look at this great filler that I found in the fall section at the dollar spot at Target for only $3. It is a bag full of brown and white spotted mushrooms and two different kinds of pine cones. So I thought these would all be great to use for filler on this fall tray. I was really excited to see the mushrooms. I think that is a fun little natural element. It's not actually natural, but it is a representation of something natural, right? So we're just going to kind of scatter those cute little mushrooms all around. I have another mushroom DIY coming up with the mushrooms from the Dollar Tree. I absolutely love those as well. We're going to kind of scatter those, kind of make them going different directions, kind of make it random. And then it came with pine cones, so we're going to use some of those as well for filler to start filling up our fall tray. I like that they gave a variety of two different kinds. So we can just kind of scatter those around. And I have another item that we're going to use for filler too to make it like really full. It's this decorative fill that I also got at the Target dollar spot for $3. I've already used most of the pine cones out of this for another DIY, but it does have these like little green berries. And these, they call these balls, but I think these are like some kind of representation of like a tree seed maybe. Do you guys know what these are called? If you do, let me know in the comments because I know I've seen these before. But I like the green. I think that's going to provide a fun little bit of color, but it's going to still kind of keep it neutral, right? No bright oranges or anything like that. And I'm going to scatter all of those little seeds all over. And I think they just provide the perfect amount of coverage on the bottom of the tray. Also the perfect amount of color. So I just fill it all the way in. I think that is the last thing we're going to need for this fall tray. I had a great time putting this together. Definitely the pine cone scale pumpkin was the most time-consuming part, but it turned out really fun. And I really like the little leaf pumpkin as well as all the items that we found there from the Dollar Tree and the Dollar Spot. So let me give you a look around my little fall tray. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to use some of these wood planks from Dollar Tree and another rub-on transfer sticker. This one says Hello Autumn. And I thought we could make a really easy, like, little fall planter using these. So I'll need 4 sides for my little planter box and 1 for the bottom. And the first step is to paint them all. So we're just going to paint them all ivory at first here. And I really only need to paint like the outside. You're not really going to be able to see the inside of the box. Then I want to give them that kind of like driftwood vibe that we did before. So I'm going to do that by using Antique Wax by Waverly, a chippy brush from Dollar Tree, and just kind of dragging that down in one direction, giving me like a little faux wood grain, blending that in with a baby wipe, and you get this really cool like wood effect. I go back with a little bit more ivory to distress that some more because I thought it looked a little bit dark. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, I like to construct these planter boxes using these little Jenga blocks from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to glue one on flat like this, lining it up against the edge at the very end of that one. We're going to do the same thing here on the other side. And that's going to give us something to glue to construct our little planter boxes. Now, for the other end, I can fit one more, so I turned this one up on its side. That way it's glued a little bit more to the side piece, whereas the other one is glued a little bit more to this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here on a second one, laying this one flat, this one on its side, again lining both of them up with the edges. Just like that. So you need 8, I guess, of those little Jenga blocks to put this together. Then I put some hot glue on the side of those, and we can just line that up, glue that on one of the other little side panels, trying to keep it as square as we can. Gonna do the same thing here on the other side. And just kind of holding those in place. Now for this last part, I'm gonna have to do it all in one step. So I put hot glue on all 4 pieces and lay like the remaining side on there. Now, when I lined them up before, I made sure that I went all the way to the end with at least one of the Jenga blocks. So that's also going to give me something that I can use to attach the bottom of this. It's going to give me something to glue to. So I put some glue on the tip of each one of the little Jenga blocks and lay the little piece of Dollar Tree wood right on top. I love crafting with these little wood panels from the Dollar Tree. They have them like in rectangles too. They're great because they're pretty consistent in size. You can see they're not bowed or anything like that. You can really build some cool stuff with it. And now it's time to decorate this little planter. I thought that we could decorate it with that little rub-on transfer. That's an easy way to make kind of a customized seasonal item like this without having to use your Cricut or anything like that. And again, it's super easy. All you have to do is peel off the back and stick that on there, scraping it onto your box. And I think it looks really pretty like that, but I kind of want it to look a little bit distressed, a little bit older. So I used some ivory and just go and kind of distress the actual decal itself, just to kind of make it blend in, make it look old and distressed like the rest of the planter box. Look how pretty that turned out. Now it's time to decorate it with some fall florals. So I'm going to start by using some Dollar Tree foam. I got this one, it's kind of like a square block, so I thought that would fit really nicely in there. It kind of does, but really only on its side, but that's okay. And then to cover up the foam, just to make it look a little bit nicer, I'm going to use some Spanish moss from Dollar Tree and just fill in the top. Then we can go ahead and add the fall florals. And sometimes if you add a little hot glue on there first, you can kind of keep it in place a little bit. Now, I found some great stuff from Dollar Tree to use. This one's kind of got like the cattails on it. It's also got like some pine cones. And again, I'm kind of going for like some neutral colors. It's got like the little cotton. So we're going to kind of mix those all up just by cutting them apart in separate pieces and just pushing those down into the foam. Then these cattails are a little bit different color, that great yellow color, which I think goes great for fall, but it's not too loud. And we're just going to keep building this just using fall florals just to fill up the little planter box. So I kind of line those up all around the edges, and then we can go in with some of these little burlap daisies. I love those, and the neutral color goes great for fall. And just kind of scatter those all over. And then I found these too. They kind of have feathers on them. I thought that looked really cute for fall. And the colors totally match what we did here in the pot. So I kind of put like 4 all over and kind of having those stick out the top there. And this is how it turned out. Our little Hello Autumn planter box for fall. This could go great anywhere. This would look really cute sitting next on a table next to your front door or something like that.
I combined mine with some more DIYs and kind of did a display on a cabinet in my living room, and I think it just turned out so cute. I love making the little like planter boxes like that. I think they're really fun to DIY.
Now, check out this great ceramic pumpkin I found at Dollar Tree. It's white, but it's got this really cool, like, it's kind of like a concrete pumpkin. It's got a great pattern on there, but you can't really see it too much being white. So I thought I would bring that out by distressing it with some Antique Wax by Waverly, and then you can really see that cool texture on there. Kind of blend it a little bit so it's not too dark, but I really wanted to bring out all that great texture on there because I wanted like a few pumpkins and stuff to kind of sit around this little fall display that I did. And then I'm just going to use the straight Antique Wax by Waverly to actually kind of paint the pumpkin stem to kind of make that look a little bit darker. And once you can see all the cool texture on there, it's really gorgeous, I think. Now, whenever you paint with the Antique Wax by Waverly, make sure you get it really good and dry because it does take a little bit longer to dry than just using paint. Then I also found like kind of a neutral colored like fall fuzzy gourd from the Target dollar spot. And then I also found a little faux leather pumpkin from Dollar Tree. These are so cute. The only thing I didn't really like about it is the dark brown plastic pumpkin stem. The shape is good, but the color is just too all one color. So I thought we could kind of mix it up and distress it a little bit. So I go over the entire stem first with some ivory paint. Then I'm going to go back and distress that with some Antique Wax by Waverly. It's going to bring out all these different shades, kind of make it look more like a real pumpkin stem. And then we're just going to kind of scatter these around with my neutral fall decor. And I love all the different colors of ivory and brown. Aren't those so pretty? I really like that concrete pumpkin.
And it was really easy to make it look a little bit more high-end. It almost looks like a wooden pumpkin there. I'm going to display mine with that leather pumpkin and some other items with the next DIY that's coming right up.
Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to make a really kind of cool pumpkin shelf sitter. So we're going to use one of the little burlap pumpkin. I like those because they're on a stand. So I don't really need this little cardboard sunflower or this little raffia bow on here. So that's the first thing I'm going to deconstruct on this is just use my heat gun to kind of melt the glue on those to pull those off. And my vision for this is I wanted to cover it with that great like foil metal acorn stickers from the Dollar Tree. I decided to just go ahead and rip the entire burlap off, thinking that might help get rid of all that texture and then maybe the glitter, but the glitter was still kind of everywhere. So my first step here is just to kind of seal all the glitter down, kind of make it disappear here just by painting the pumpkin white. And that's just going to give me a plain background for if we add the stickers on there, because that sticker is kind of like a mesh. So there is going to be some openings and stuff on there. So you would be able to kind of see what's behind it. And then for the base, it's kind of a really dark wood. So I kind of wanted it to make it look a little bit more distressed. So I distressed that with ivory. And I guess it's called adhesive diamond wrap. And it is like a peel and stick. So it's not quite white enough for a pumpkin, but I think it would be easy enough to piece this together to make this a really interesting texture for the front of the pumpkin. So I just kind of flip it over and use a Sharpie to kind of figure out exactly how big to make it. And I think it's going to work better to kind of cut it beforehand. Kind of requires a little bit of heavy duty scissors to cut through that, but just cutting down the sides and the top of the pumpkin until I have it just right. Then I can use the rest of the diamond mesh to kind of fill in the side parts that are missing. So I'm just going to peel that, stick that down to our dry paint on our pumpkin, just making sure I get it lined up as straight as I can. And then I just want to kind of continue that same pattern here on the sides, just by kind of lining it up how it would look like that. So I decided it might be easier to kind of do it one strip at a time. That way I could trim it down. And then I kind of had to do more than one with the acorns, so I could kind of leave those intact. But I just kind of cut it down until I got it to fit. You could just stick a piece on there like that and then just trim around the side. That might be a little bit easier too. And now we have like the entire surface of the pumpkin covered in the acorns. And then I wanted to paint it. I don't want to leave it that same kind of gold and brown color it was. So I'm going to distress the whole thing first with ivory. It's going to kind of, blend in with that white background that we did on this. And that's going to kind of make all of that back texture, the ivory color. And then we can go back over all of the acorns and distress them and really kind of make them pop on that texture on the pumpkin. I found that if you used a brush, you could really get down in between all the nooks and crannies on that. And so then for the distressing, I just use Antique Wax by Waverly and a foam brush. And I just lightly drag it over and see how it pulls out all the acorns and all the little dots. And it gives you this really cool feel. I kind of follow that up with just a paper towel to kind of wipe off any excess and blend it in. And then I found this great little ornament from the Target dollar spot for $1 that says Hello Pumpkin. And I thought that'd be really cute. We can kind of string that on the top here of our little pumpkin. It's already got a hanger and some wood beads on it, so might as well take advantage of that. And the Hello Pumpkin's kind of an orange, but it's not a real bright orange, so I think that is going to work well with the color schemes on this. I just attach it with a little hot glue on the back. And then I'm going to use some of that wire jute again and ink pen to make a little pumpkin tendril for this one as well. And kind of attach it up here around the stem of the pumpkin. I decided just to hot glue it to the back. And then since, we covered the little pumpkin in acorns, I thought it'd be a really cute touch to add like an acorn to it too. And they have some of these little wood acorns from Dollar Tree. And there are raw wood, so you do have to kind of paint it or stain it if you want a finish on it. I thought we could just kind of attach one just to the little pumpkin stem. And so I just stained the little acorn part with some Antique Wax by Waverly. Kind of want a rustic stain on that, nothing too solid. Wipe that off with a paper towel, and then I just went ahead and actually just did the entire acorn with that. It's kind of totally gonna go, and I just don't wipe off the excess part too much. And then I also distress the bottom part with a little bit of ivory just to lighten it up a little bit, make it look a little bit different than the acorn cap. And I'm just gonna attach it right up here at the top. Just by hot gluing that onto our little diamond mesh. And this DIY was so easy to put together. I think it turned out really beautiful and high-end looking. It looks way better than it looked from the Dollar Tree for sure.
And this is how it turned out. I just love all that texture. Anytime I can use that like diamond mesh and I can paint it like that from the Dollar Tree, I always try to do it. But I think that Antique Wax by Waverly on the acorn background, it just really worked really well. Definitely the colors that it should be, but also the neutral color scheme that we're going for.
Now, for the next DIY, I'm actually going to use this great little wagon that I found at the Target dollar spot for $5. I really had to have it because I thought it was so cute and would be so cute to decorate for different holidays. I didn't really like the black finish on it though. I'm fine with the galvanized metal. That's totally going to go with some of the DIYs we're doing today that have the galvanized metal on them, but not a big fan of the black. So the first thing I do is distress all of the black on it with ivory, kind of brighten that up a little bit. So I just fill it in with some floral moss there from Dollar Tree, kind of the brownish kind. And then for a more neutral color, I thought we could fill it up with some ivory pumpkins. These are from the Dollar Tree. These are the ones on the wire. I don't really need them to be on the wire though, so I'm just gonna pull those off and load up our little wheelbarrow. You have to be kind of careful though, that you don't take all the paint off these. I was trying to figure out a strategy that would be the best way to remove them. And then I decided that just cutting them with my floral scissors from Dollar Tree is a way better way to do that, because then you don't tear any of the paint off the bottom. So just trying to do enough to fill it all the way up. So I used several packages of the little ivory pumpkins. Then I decided I wanted to decorate the wagon after I got it all put together, of course. And I'm going to do that with some of these little rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. They have this great like blue and orange pumpkins. And so I just picked one that I thought would look good on there. Just cut that down to size. And then just using my scraper, I'm going to scrape that little rub-on transfer on there. And this is a great way to decorate galvanized metal. I think it looks better than trying to paint it and stuff like that. You really get a cool finish. Anytime you're putting those down, if you don't get it all down, just lay it back down, scrape again. You should be able to transfer your whole image. So just gonna load my pumpkins back in here. And then, of course, then I was like, you know what? I kind of want my little wagon wheels to look like wood. And I kind of forgot that step. So I go back and just distress those with some antique wax by Waverly and like a little chippy brush from Dollar Tree. And it kind of made that look like wood instead of those black wheels that were before. And this is how it turned out. I think it's very neutral, very cute. Items from the Dollar Tree and the Target dollar spot on this one.
And I haven't been as happy with the selection at Target Dollar Spot. Maybe I need to go check it out again. But when I was in there the other day, they had nothing but like plastic. I love the metal pieces like this that they have.
Now, this is a tier tray that I actually got at Target dollar spot. It's like a great like A-frame shape. It's got like 2 shelves on it. Not real big, but it's cute to do like a little fall decor. So we're going to use items from the Dollar Tree to decorate this. The first thing I'm going to use is one of these little Hello Autumn envelopes that they have. They have these like in like lots of different styles. They're all really pretty, I think. And I thought that would look cute, kind of hanging on the front, the little A-frame there of it. And I just kind of wanted to soften mine up a little bit. So I just go in and kind of distress the little Hello Autumn sign with a chunky brush and a little bit of ivory just to kind of give it a weathered appearance. And then I'm going to use like the existing hanger that came on there just to kind of string that over the top of this little tier tray. This is a really easy, fun little tier tray to decorate. You can just kind of fill it with a few fall elements. It's going to look really cute and it's a nice color. So that's how that looks hanging there. I think that's a great use for it. Then I found a great like wood monogram pumpkin. Well, it looks like wood with the monogram of our last name on it from Dollar Tree. And then I'm not going to combine it with one of these little yarn pumpkins from the Target dollar spot. This one's that great kind of like honey color for fall. And then this is actually a thrift find. And look at this great little metal leaf tray that I found at Goodwill. I got it half off, so it was only like $1.50. It's a great brass color, and I thought that would look really cute on the tier tray as well. So we're just going to clean it up a little bit and just add that to the tray too. It's not a very large tray, so it's not going to take very much to decorate it for sure. And this is how it turned out with those 4 elements.
I really love those $5 tier trays from the dollar spot at Target. I always try to pick those up when I see them. Now that Dollar Tree Plus also has tier trays, that would work as well. But as you can see, it's a really easy little tier tray. But let me kind of show you how I styled it all together with some of the other DIYs so you can kind of see where I was going with this. I think it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about these DIYs? Now up next, we're going to craft with one of these little galvanized leaf signs.
Then we can make a really easy little fall sign with it, combining it with one of the long like wood signs from Dollar Tree. This one is actually left over from the 4th of July. They have these, it seems like, for every season now. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to use that star cutout anyway. I just wanted something about the size to make a fun little fall leaf sign like this. And I kind of wanted the same colors as we did our little welcome pumpkin that looked like the faux seagrass on it. So I'm going to just cut this little board down to size, long enough for the little leaf to attach on the front. And then I decided that I kind of wanted it to be like a kind of a chunkier sign. So I used that for reference and cut down another piece on that same sign. And we can kind of layer those together to make it a thicker sign like that. Now I do want to still use the existing hanger though, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that back on first. One less thing I'll have to do. And then I thought I wanted a little bit more texture. So I'm actually going to add some burlap to the sign underneath the galvanized metal leaf. And I have a roll of it, the 6-inch roll from Walmart, but you know what? You can get this at Dollar Tree now. I just hot glued mine on. It just happened to be the perfect size. And then all I have to do is trim down the top and the bottom. And that's just going to give us another great like neutral color to go with this little fall sign. It's just a very simple little fall sign, but I think it turned out really cute. So to attach the 2 signs together, we're just going to use some hot glue. I'm just going to have the cutout part be on the back. It doesn't really matter. I just kind of wanted a solid surface up here to cover with the burlap. And now we can just attach the little galvanized metal sign. It's like a oak leaf, I guess. I kind of want it to be a little bit at an angle. And so we're just going to attach that to the burlap with a little bit of hot glue. Once I got it on there, I thought it looked a little bit plain and it could use maybe just a little bit touch. So we're going to do a couple things to it just to take it up a notch. The first thing I want to cover are the little hanger hole in it. So I just take some twine, tie a simple bow, and we're just going to glue that over the top. I always like to do that just because it's easier than trying to fill those kind of holes usually. And a little bow on anything looks cute. Then I thought we could kind of draw the little veins on the leaf by just using a white paint pen just to give it a little bit more, detail. Easy peasy, kind of basic, but very neutral. And I think it looks great combined with the little welcome pumpkin we did before, and it totally goes that neutral color scheme.
I always enjoy the galvanized metal signs that are seasonal signs from the Dollar Tree, but sometimes it can be a little hard to find ideas to do with them. But this one's great because you can just add a few details like that. And this is how our little leaf sign turned out. I really hope you enjoyed today's 30 neutral fall Dollar Tree DIYs. I had such a great time making all of these DIYs and putting this video together for you. Hopefully you got some that you haven't seen before and you are inspired to do some fall crafting because it's almost here. Don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, for individual DIYs on your phone. And don't forget to let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Enjoy!
Open up a window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. September.
One way to see, one way to know, is never look back and just letting it go. Your heart is a drum, you're biting your tongue, hoping to reach out and touch the soul who is lost in winter and frost. Enthusiastic summer's gone, it's moved on in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. Hopelessly there when you're not here, it doesn't matter as long as you're true, true to your heart, true to the art of holding the hands of a lonely soul who is lost in winter and frost. Enthusiastic summer's gone, it's moved on in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. They don't know why they're falling down. They don't know when they'll hit the ground. As far as my eyes can see, you'll always care so tenderly for souls who are lost in winter and frost. Enthusiastic summer's gone, it's moved on in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. They don't know why they're falling down. They don't know when they'll hit the ground. As far as my eyes can see, you always care so tenderly. They don't know why they're falling down. They don't know when they'll hit the ground. As far as my eyes can see, you'll always care so tenderly.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Maren Christensen, Adrian Vault, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Lori Hollingsworth, Mindy Hupp, and Jenny. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Every little bit helps here on YouTube. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, you can join by hitting the join button next to today's video on your phone or your computer, and you're going to get early ad-free access to my videos, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. I'd also love to see what you've been crafting. Be sure to share your DIYs with the rest of us in our private Facebook group. I always have it linked in the description of the video, as well as chapters when I'm doing a really long video like this. And if you'd like more fall crafting inspiration, be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for fall.